It's a shame I even have to make this video. I'm James from 3 Pedal Special. What was the best Need for Speed game that actually came out? It's Need for Speed High Stakes. Risk it all to win. This game was probably one of the most exciting looking Need for Speed games by the cover. I think a lot of people forget that cover art is something that's taken lightly now. So back before digital content, there were other ways of getting to your audience. You had commercials, magazines, and of course cover art. And the more exciting the cover art looked, and the previews on the rear, well, generally the better chance you have at selling the game. So let's think about why we play a video game in the first place. I like the sense of accomplishment, like I'm achieving something. It feels like I'm doing something, and I enjoy the experience. I thoroughly enjoy achieving those goals. The second thing is graphics. I think the graphics are a big deal to me. They're not nearly as big as how well the game plays, but it's certainly a reason to draw me in and keep me hooked. So the biggest thing I like about Need for Speed High Stakes is the simplicity of it. You have 19 cars. Those 19 cars you slowly unlock as you go along in the championship mode. You have modifications that can be done to those cars that are held in 3-tier categories. And the competition is actually fairly difficult. You can't just adjust it to easy and win every race the first time. When I was younger, that was something that frustrated me about this game, because I couldn't win the first time. So I really like the idea of competition. Need for Speed High Stakes gave you that level of competition. It was something that was felt to be earned, not given to you, like how most games now you can switch to easy mode. So I actually replayed this game again quite a bit the weekend I made this video, and the one thing I still am frustrated with is how good this AI is. So the AI programmers, I give you a round of applause for how well this AI is balanced. There's times where it's frustrating because they catch up unrealistically quick, they pull away unrealistically fast. If you crash, you're pretty much done for the race. You can try and make up time, but it's almost impossible unless your vehicle has a couple levels higher in upgrades to it. You're not going to pass the opponent. It's quite noticeable too that as you move up the grid inside of tournament mode, each particular opponent is better than the other, Nemesis being the best and Chump being the worst. I've actually witnessed times where the AI has forced me off the road, knew that the apex of a corner was coming up, braked early, and shoved itself into the corner early. This is pretty advanced for a PS1 game. I would go as far as saying that the AI in this game parallels with Gran Turismo. It might even be better. But it's not very professional. It likes to ram you off the road, and especially since they had to do the police AI, I think it's safe to say that this AI is aggressive and it's a perfect arcade artificial intelligence for racing. It makes the game challenging and sometimes a little frustrating, but that's why it makes it feel so much better when you do achieve your first place finish. Creative names, great AI, this is something I really enjoy. Well done, devs. I really enjoyed the fact that you could race somebody else with their memory card and swap cars if you lost the race, which was really cool. It was like racing for pink slips. So this is really the main first reason I think is the best Need for Speed game. It was the best Need for Speed game at portraying competition in multiplayer. I remember playing this game with my cousins, bringing it over, and we had an absolute blast with it. The essence of giving up your car if you lose, it puts your money where your mouth is, and it really made you engage in the game. And now I'm actually losing something tangible in the game. I really don't want to lose now. I'm going to do what it takes to win. It really encouraged split screen play. So this really gets down to what video games were originally about. Connecting with people, competing against them, and at the end of the day, practicing again so you can get better, and not only that, but acquire more things. And that's something that I really enjoyed about Need for Speed High Stakes, and that's the first reason why I think it holds true to the best Need for Speed title. The second reason I think that Need for Speed High Stakes is the greatest Need for Speed title ever is the attention to detail. This was back around the time that Dolby surround sound was a big deal, and sure enough, PlayStation 1 and Need for Speed High Stakes utilized it. It was really interesting to play because in a hot pursuit mode, you could hear what type of car was behind you, and you knew just by the sound where it was. All had different sounds and were very carefully detailed when passing through. And this is playing to the strengths of the PS1 system, obviously, with audio. So I thought that was pretty cool. But the next thing that's even a step further from that is the showcasing of each vehicle. The showcasing of a vehicle in Need for Speed High Stakes was probably my favorite feature as a child because I was so fascinated with automobiles at the time. It was interesting to me to hear the different histories of the cars, what the cars could do, how fast they could go, and all that kind of stuff. It just goes to show you the appreciation of automobiles from this game, and it really helped me, and I'm sure a lot of other kids at the time who played this growing up, appreciate cars. To this day, I'm a car fanatic, and I attribute Need for Speed High Stakes to a lot of that. It really made you understand and appreciate the nuances of each vehicle that were in the game. It was a very classy showcasing with a simple narrator and interesting facts. Here's a little preview of what one of the showcases was like.
The Porsche 911 Turbo is the last and fastest of a line of thoroughbred sports cars that dates back to the original 911 of 1963. Even before that, sports car fans the world over delighted to earlier Porsches like the famed 356 Spider. Based on the 911 Carrera, the Turbo uses wider rear bodywork to accommodate rear wheels and tires of almost race car proportions. A big rear spoiler helps maintain stability at the very high speeds this car is easily capable of. The secret behind the...
Pretty sweet, huh? I think so. Definitely giving this a checkbox in the attention to detail category. Also, each car handled somewhat like their real-life counterpart. Now, I know this is much better today, and it's a lot more characteristic of the actual cars today. You got the sense of how to drive different types of cars, like the Mercedes SLK and the BMW Z3, both handled pretty quick around the corners, but they didn't accelerate very hard, so you had to make advantage of the cornering abilities that it had. But the Lamborghini Diablo, on the other hand, was a different beast. It was rear-wheel drive V12, so you needed to be able to handle it in the corners. Another thing that was really detailed about this game were the tracks. I thought the tracks were phenomenal. The draw distance on the PS1 is always pretty good, but the tracks were done exceptionally well, I thought, in terms of variation of cornering and also scenery. The game offers a night driving scenario. There's also a mirrored section, so you have a lot of options when it comes to track. The race modes are fairly diverse. You've got a single player, you've got a multiplayer split screen. You also have championship mode, and even just a test drive. And you also have the famous Hot Pursuit mode, which was actually my favorite part of that game. The Hot Pursuit mode was cool because this was an actual race you had to complete, but there were cops watching you the whole way, so you had to there were two strategies you could take. You could either drive the speed limit, and the cops would know if you were driving the speed limit because of the speed limit signs that were in the area. And depending on the location, the sirens of the cop cars would actually be different. So that attention to detail certainly made the game better. If you drove the speed limit, they would completely ignore you. So if you were playing split screen, somebody flew past the cops, they'd follow them, and as they followed them and pulled them over, you could fly right on by and you'd be okay. So attention to detail is certainly one of the biggest reasons I really enjoyed this game. Number 3, it's satisfying. So going through this whole championship process, there's quite a few championship modes that you can play through, and each time you earn money in the form of credits to upgrade your car or buy a new car after you sell your other one that you had previously bought for that championship. So this allows you to really dig into the meat and potatoes of the game itself and start unlocking these vehicles. And of course they made the most desirable cars the ones you had to unlock. The Mercedes CLK GTR and the McLaren F1 GTR, the two GTR cars, were both the unlockable one. But so as you progress through this, you get this sense of accomplishment, and eventually, once you get the gold trophy from each particular tournament, you're able to actually re-enter that tournament, and you have to make sure you have enough credits. It's a very well thought out system, and frankly is a lot of fun. And there's nothing more satisfying than finishing off those tournaments and then setting lap records around each track. That's what I did. I had a lot of fun doing it, and I'll still do it. I'll continue to do it as my life moves along. And not only that, but we're talking about customization now too. So as you progress along and you win these tournaments and you get more money, you're actually able to upgrade your vehicle for better aerodynamics, performance in a straight line, brakes, suspension, all that wonderful stuff. You can upgrade all that in 3 tiers as you go along. So sometimes when you're designing a game or a system in general, you might lose touch with reality on what you're actually trying to get this consumer to experience, right? So being able to make all of it work together to the point where somebody enjoys it to the nth degree is a difficult thing to do, and Need for Speed High Stakes does that very well. Ron DePrisco, or known as his full name, Romolo D'Aprisco, made the soundtrack. Now, the soundtrack is phenomenal, at least for the racing portion. There's other licensed tracks from Junkie XL, and there's even one from DJ Icy called Clutch. That whole feel was perfected wonderfully. I think a lot of guys at this time making music, guys like Ron D'Aprisco and Barry Leach, were very good at capturing the feeling of a game and portraying it into the overall experience. And EA did a very good job of formulating their game design around this whole experience with the music as well. Because you have, as I mentioned before, you have a lot of detail with the engine noise, which is the way the car handles, with these beautiful tracks, and you've also got this pumping music that makes you want to win. And so this is something that really, really fires you up. And then when you're in second place and you're right behind Nemesis, who is always the first place player to start off and is the best AI by far, you really want to pass him, and you really want to make sure that you win the race. And this is something that I think is lost a lot in game design, and this isn't just in new games, it's in old games too. I think game designers tend to forget that the whole experience is what matters, and what the customer plays is really what sells and really what makes it a great game. And Need for Speed High Stakes, I think, really captures that. It really captures the consumer experience. It really captures what it's like to drive a car, even with limited resources for development. And I think that's what really sets it aside for me as the best Need for Speed game. I'm not going to get too into what makes new Need for Speed games bad now, but all you have to do is read a few reviews online and look at some gameplay. It really doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out all the microtransaction stuff and the online forced play that can kind of dilute the game. While it does look pretty and drives cool and sounds great, this is really what racing is about. Just some techno music, some European exotic car, and a killer track to drive around, and even some cops chasing behind you, you're trying to get away. So I really think that Need for Speed High Stakes captures the essence of video games and also racing in general, and really gives you an opportunity to enjoy playing this game. And not only that, but it's playable over and over again. Hi, I'm James from 3 Pedal Special. Thanks for watching my video. There will be more videos like this in the future, so if you could, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'd love to hear from the community. Who knows? You might like what I have to offer. Thanks.